Welcome to our Devos. We are talking about what to do in the waiting, how to handle the waiting. That period of time before we find the comeback, that period of time before we get to the place where God restores, brings us back to the place of joy. Comeback happens in an amazing way, but none of us, myself included, none of us want to need a comeback. Well, today I want to examine this popular understanding of what God is capable of doing as we realize quite simply, brokenness is often what brings you back to God. Brokenness is often what brings you back to God. Now, I would rather just be whole and stay with God. But usually when we're in intense seasons of blessing, we find ourselves straying away from God's dependence, our dependence on Him. And what happens then is we go through a season where we find ourselves broken down and we feel like we don't have anybody to depend on and we feel like we're struggling or we're stuck and maybe we're having trouble making a decision. Well, believe it or not, it's that brokenness that causes us to come back, to come home, to find ourselves right with Him again, and to realize we never should have depended on anything else but Him to begin with. It says in Psalm 51, verse 17, a broken and contrite heart you, God, will not despise. This is David at the peak of his brokenness with his sin. And he finds himself with God, enjoying the time with God, and really reinvigorating his connection to God. This is exactly what you ought to do when it comes to your brokenness. And I think as we examine the waiting, we need to find ourselves more time to focus on God and to focus on His goodness, and not just on what we've lost, but focus on how God is unchanging, how God doesn't move, how God is able to restore, and more importantly, how we can access Him. And sometimes we access Him in a deep way whenever we are at a period of loss. So if you find yourself in that waiting game right now and you're like, I've needed to come back for a long time, I've really found myself like Moses, a fugitive in the desert, away from the plan that I thought God had for me, you need to get back to Him. And God is using that brokenness to bring you closer to Him so that when your comeback comes, you are going to realize that it was all Him from beginning to end.